Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the core ideas of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's incredible book, The Body Keeps the Score. We're going to explore how trauma actually lives inside of us, and more importantly, how we can start to heal. So let's start with a really tough question. What happens when a memory isn't just a memory? What happens when it's a feeling that just never seems to go away? You see, the book kicks off with this really powerful idea. Trauma isn't just in your head. It's like an imprint left on our entire being. To really get what this means, I want to introduce you to someone named Tom. Now, if you looked at Tom's life from the outside, you'd think he had it all figured out. He went to college on the GI Bill, became a lawyer, married his high school sweetheart, the whole picture-perfect life. But on the inside, he felt totally numb. For Tom, the past wasn't some distant memory. Nope. It would come crashing into his present, completely hijacking his behavior. Even the sound of his own kids playing would agitate him so much that he'd have to just storm out of the house, terrified he might hurt them. And here's the thing. Tom's story isn't some rare, isolated case. The statistics from the CDC are just staggering. They reveal that 1 in 5 Americans was sexually molested as a child. This isn't just an individual issue. It's a hidden epidemic that really affects all of us.
So that's the big question, right? Why does this happen? To figure that out, we've got to look at how our brains actually record and relive these traumatic events.
Well, it all comes down to this huge fundamental difference between how we process a normal memory and a traumatic one.
See, a normal memory is kind of like a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We can retell it, and it might even change a little over time. But a traumatic memory, that's more like a broken record. It isn't a story at all. It's just these raw, jumbled up pieces, sights, sounds, smells that keep replaying as if they're happening for the very first time. I mean, get this. There's an incredible story in the book about a veteran named Bill. 10 years after the war, he's looking at a simple ink blot test, and it triggers a full-blown flashback. He's panting, sweating, smelling the exact same things from that horrific day. In that moment, for him, he was right back there. And neuroscience shows us exactly what's going on here. During a flashback, the rational, time-keeping part of the brain, the part that says, hey, I'm here, it's the present, it just goes dark. It shuts down. At the same time, the brain's smoke detector, the emotional part, is screaming, danger. Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between the past and the present. So, to survive something that is just unbearable, the mind can do this incredible thing. It can basically hit the eject button. It splits off from the body. This is called dissociation. It's an amazing survival tool in the moment, but the problem is it can stick around long after the danger is gone, leaving a person feeling disconnected from their own life. And the result of all this? The body gets trapped on high alert. The heart keeps racing, the muscles stay tense, it's constantly braced for a fight. It's stuck in this futile loop, trying to escape a threat that now only exists in the past. It's like being in a physiological prison. Okay, I know this all sounds really heavy, maybe even a little hopeless, but here's the thing. The central message of this work is actually one of profound hope. Healing is absolutely possible. So let's look at the pathways to recovery. This brings us to a huge insight. Traditional talk therapy, on its own, often isn't enough. And why is that? Well, because you can't talk your way out of a problem that isn't stored in the talking part of your brain. Words just can't reach those nonverbal areas that are stuck in survival mode. Healing has to start in the body. There's this great principle for healing from a psychiatrist named Elvin Semrad. He taught that so much of our suffering comes from trying to avoid the truth of our own lives. So healing follows this 3-step path. First, you acknowledge what really happened. Then, you allow yourself to actually experience the emotions and physical feelings. And finally, you learn how to bear those feelings without getting totally overwhelmed. It's about knowing what you know and feeling what you feel.
What this really boils down to is that you can't be in the driver's seat of your own life if you don't feel safe inside your own skin. Healing means learning to befriend your body again, really listening to its signals, instead of just trying to numb them or ignore them.
And this requires what are called bottom-up approaches, things that speak the body's language. Things like yoga, which helps you learn to tolerate physical sensations, or theater, which gives you a safe space to try on new ways of being. There's EMDR, which helps the brain process those fragmented memories. Neurofeedback can literally retrain the brain out of its fear patterns. And mindfulness teaches you how to just observe your feelings with curiosity instead of panic. All these things work to calm the body's alarm system from the inside out.
So, at the end of the day, healing from trauma isn't about trying to erase the past. That's impossible. It's about weaving it into the story of your life in a way that lets you move forward with a real sense of purpose and connection.
Maybe the deepest wound of trauma is that feeling of being completely and utterly alone in your pain. And if that's the wound, then the most powerful medicine we have is connection. Finding ways to safely connect with other people, to be seen and heard without any judgment. And this brings us to a really profound takeaway. Finding the words for what happened, being truly heard, and feeling seen by another person, that's the very opposite of the traumatic experience. That is how we reclaim our voice and our place in the world.
The Body Keeps the Score really invites us to listen to those stories, not with judgment, but with curiosity and with compassion. Because that, right there, is where the path to wholeness truly begins.